welcome to ETStudios at the ETCIO Annual Conclave. I'm your host Shilpa Ratnam, and I have the pleasure of hosting Aveek, who's the VP of Asia Pacific and Japan of Aerospike. Thank you so much for joining us, Aveek. Now organizations have such vast amounts of data, right, from all quarters. And the biggest concern is how do you consolidate it and make sure it's not existing in silos? How do you get that 360-degree view?
That's a great question, Shilpa. In fact, that's a moot point for most enterprises today. We work with one of the largest telecom organizations in India, and one of the issues they had at the time we started working with them was they had data silos across a whole bunch of businesses that they ran. So, for example, you as a customer, when you went onto their portal or made a call to their number, they did not know who you were. So Shilpa comes in, I don't know whether you have this postpaid service, prepaid service, or whatever. Once you get a handle of what are the services that Shilpa has, I can say, hey, I know Shilpa much better. I can offer a few other services which makes sense for Shilpa. And I can start saying, hey, Shilpa, your friend did this. Why don't you start doing this, right? So recommendation engines, understanding the user and so on is very, very critical in today's world where data is exploding, like you said. And more importantly, it's about breaking the silos, right? You can't have data which is relevant in one context, but you don't understand the larger picture. So enterprises have figured that out. I mean, now with an explosion of unicorns in India, digital natives in India, they're realizing that the only way forward is to become nimble and agile and to understand the users much, much more. And we are seeing a clear trend in India, especially, right, to your point, where organizations are beginning to say that it's not enough to provide services for customers, but it's very important that I understand those customers well so that I can start offering service to them that makes sense to them. So I'm seeing a huge, huge trend toward that across various different enterprise segments today in India.
That's fantastic. Now every organization wants to harness the power of AI, and you're an AI driven platform. What is the sort of benefit somebody would have from choosing a platform like yours?
Sure. So let me give you a sense of what the market is doing right now, right? You look at the UPI ecosystem that was built, the Aadhaar ecosystem, and now the India stack, what is being called as the India stack, and which now globally is becoming very relevant, right? It's about making sure that customers have a great experience, are able to do stuff in a very predictable way. I pay you money, it should happen in a jiffy. The experience should be seamless, and it should not be that for every transaction that happens, I'm going to complain saying, hey, I'm not able to see what happened to the transaction. It's about how quickly the transaction happens, which what we call as response time to a transaction. The second thing is, as more and more people are getting online, which is very, very typical in India, right? You look at any of the in what has happened post COVID, right? Pretty much everybody is online today, and people are transacting online. So the platforms that people are building need to be able to handle that kind of scale and throughput. But I mean, how many people are doing these transactions together? So let's say during Diwali or Christmas, when people are online, the platforms that are being built need to be able to handle that kind of scale. So you have response time, you have scale, but you also, when these platforms are being built, which are digital first, when people have to trust these platforms, it is about these platforms running 24 bar 7. It can't be the case that the platform went down and my transaction is not valid, right? The reason why India is a market leader in the digital space today, I'm very proud to say that, is because we have an ecosystem that is ahead of the curve. You have people who are transacting online. You and me are confident that if I make a payment, if I drive past a FASTag booth, it's going to happen. Maybe there might be one-off case where there might be a concern or transaction failure, but more often than not, it works, and it works very, very quickly. You go to any other part of the world today, they are not at a place where the payments are happening like it is happening in India. It is not built on any one organization. It's a neutral platform. You can start building your ecosystem or story on top of it, and people are making money out of it, which is the best part of it. So the whole ecosystem is built on real time, which is how quickly things happen, scale, and it's also about making sure that the platform runs all the time. So we in that space, right, are helping organizations transcend the use cases that they're building right now in the AI ML space. For example, you're online, you're browsing through an e-commerce platform, and you want to know what's the best dress that suits you. So once they understand your behavior, what makes sense to you, they can say, hey, Shilpa, this is a dress which makes sense for you, or Avik, this is what makes sense for you. That is called recommendation engines, and those are areas where Aerospike is doing a lot of work in, and customers are beginning to adopt us in that space across the market here. So very excited about what we're seeing here.
Oh, all right. AI is being used in a big way to power these suggestion engines. So it's interesting that Aerospike is doing work there. Something else I read about Aerospike is you received a large amount of funding recently. Congratulations. What are your plans for the India market and your roadmap ahead?
Sure, thank you for that. I mean, we've had a round of funding, and as you know, right now the situation globally is not that There's a lot of money in the market for investors to look at. But the fact that they invested in Aerospike at this time of the year is a great validation of what we've been doing. We are at a space where the data space is exploding globally, but more so in the space where real-time data is exploding, right? The use case that I talked about. So for us, India is a key market because in India, especially, with the kind of population we have, 1.3 billion people, and more people getting online, unless and until people start offering these services online, it's not going to cut ties. I mean, gone are the days when a bank can say, you're going to come to my office and you can do a transaction here and go back. It has to happen online. So every one of these verticals, whether it's in the banking space, telco space, gaming space, you name it, IPL is happening right now. All of us are following the IPL, and people are building platforms that can handle 35 crores of people or online. I mean, this is what the numbers we're talking about. Or Dream 11 runs 2 million transactions per second simultaneously. All this is happening because of a platform like Aerospike powering them at the back end. So, to your question about India and what we are planning to do, one of the key things we're looking at is obviously we want to make sure that we help customers more and more. But to be able to do that is to understand the use cases the customers build and what kind of features they require. So we have a very strong engineering team here. We have a support presence. We have consultants who work with customers here. And obviously, we have people who work with customers on a day-to-day basis. So that has really helped us. And we're going to continue to expand that as more and more use cases get formed here and we start working with customers more and more here. So very, very excited about this market. I mean, I've been working in this market for 25 years. I see the evolution of what is happening in India, which is mind-blowing. Even this kind of an event that's happening here, you can see the kind of conversations that are happening, right? So it's a very exciting time for everyone concerned, and the funding round obviously helps us in getting the right people in the organization. So
And very insightful conversations that we have here at the conclave and at the studios. So thank you for joining us here. Thank you for your time and thank you for watching. And remember, you can catch our other conversations at ET Studios at the ETCIO Annual Conclave.